and good morning, everyone. Thanks, ma'am, for the very good introductions. And first and foremost, I would like to thank the Elets team for organizing such a nice event and having us over to share our views and opinions. So we seem to have a wealth of experience on the dais today, and hopefully we should be able to do some justice to the conversation and the topic that has been given to us. More than 120 to 150 years of experience on the dais, covering the wide spectrum of the BFSI sector. So we're basically covering all industry segments within the BFSI space. So let's try to do our best out here. Okay, so what is the topic that we have? Digital transformation, a very hot topic and maybe the latest trend and fad in the industry, which is part of every conversation and every business discussion. I'll go even to the extent of saying it's part of every business decision that we make today. So from being a core IT responsibility in the good old days, it has now become a core business responsibility and is part of most board agendas, which means that we have come a long way in the digital transformation space and the journey. Within BFSI, things are no different because I think I would like to say BFSI is more of a leader and a flag bearer in this entire digital transformation journey. So with that, we now understand what is the key panel going to be discussing. So we will focus on the adoption of digital transformation within this space, be it within banking, financial services, and the insurance sector. And also, what are the opportunities and challenges that we have faced while we have integrated our digital technologies within the traditional financial systems. Okay, we will also try to explore what could be the potential benefits of digital transformation. It could be in terms of improved operational efficiencies. It could be in terms of enhanced customer experience. It could be also in terms of increased access to financial services. And most importantly, financial inclusion as well, because we have seen digital transformation play a part in that. Mr. Joshi in his keynote address also talked about it. And finally, if I'm looking at takeaways for the attending members and even our listening audience, what could the takeaways be? I think this panel will aim to provide insight into successful digital transformation strategies, best practices, and we'll try to do it to showcasing live cases, use cases, and examples which have effectively used digital transformation. So that's more or less the aim of this panel. Let's just hope we can be able to cover all the parts that we have just discussed. But before I actually start off, I'll just also mention this panel will be moderated and will be discussed following the Chatham House rules. For those who are not aware, Chatham House rules will basically mean we are free to utilize and use the information that we get from the channel and from this panel, but we'll refrain from attributing it to a particular individual and organization. So that's the context. So thanks everyone. And with that, I will start off with my first question. We'll start off with the base question. So Sadaf, I'll put the question to you first. In your opinion, what do you think we have done over the past decade or so in terms of digital transformation? What have you seen within the BFS sector in terms of digital transformation over the last decade? And what do you see in terms of the benefits that it has provided to financial institutions to provide better value and service to their customers? And maybe even challenges, because with every opportunity comes a challenge.
Yeah, thanks Ashton for that question. I think very relevant topic in the today's context, and my job is made easy by Mr. Joshi, who elaborated at length that what has happened at UIDI. But at the financial inclusion space where I work, especially, I can tell you that digital transformation has taken major leaps and bounds and steps. I think all of this started with a revolution of Jandan, Aadhaar and mobile. So Aadhaar was something which was in the making and got kind of universalized and became a primary ID for identification. And coupled with that, the mobile penetration which has happened, courtesy Geo revolution that has happened across the country, and everybody has a mobile and data access. And with that, I think the Prime Minister's promoted Jandan Aadhaar Yojana, which ended up opening 48 crore accounts. And all of those, like large bulk of those accounts are at the bottom of the pyramid. I would say 99% of those accounts, and we are direct beneficiaries of that. We are a microfinance company. We are giving loans to people at the bottom of the pyramid. Prior to this whole phenomena, we were disbursing more of our loans through cash. But now that this Jandan, Aadhaar and mobile trinity is there, we are able to give the customer direct benefit of disbursement into her bank account. And more importantly, the Aadhaar, which has become a universal ID, has become a backbone of underwriting. So we are able to identify customer track records, and many of the information that we want to track are based on the Aadhaar and the information that is available. So I think the Jandan Aadhaar mobile is something which is a major kind of a contributor to taking the financial inclusion to the last mile. Post that, UPI, the NPCI developed apps have played a major role. In fact, converting the transactions which were happening in cash into a digital format. And as Mr. Joshi also elaborated, that there is a track record now being maintained, and you can actually get a lot more information on the unorganized segment, which was earlier not available because of the cash transaction. So digitization has played a role, and now we are getting into the next phase of it, which is with the aggregator platform and also ONDC coming into play. So I think a lot has happened in digital kind of a transformation in India in the last decade. And I think world is looking at us. The UPI has been a real awesome success. I recently read like German chancellor coming here and transacting on UPI and all of those. So those things are happening. And I think it is playing a very important role at the bottom of the pyramid, especially as far as the access is concerned. Because the biggest problem of taking the financial inclusion to the last mile was the problem of access and reach. So I think with digitization, that is being catered upon. You asked us to elaborate about some of the challenges. I think the challenges today that we face, because we are working in the field, are two. One is financial literacy, and the second is digital literacy. So financial literacy has been a work in progress. We have been trying to educate. RBI has multiple programs. We also have multiple programs. Whenever we interact with our customer, we try and educate them. But digital literacy is a more of an important need, an immediate need, because a lot of these transactions happening on digital platform, and customer being from a vulnerable segment and little less literate, it creates a lot of risk. So I think that is the challenge that we need to address. That is where I think a lot of effort needs to go to kind of address those issues.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot for those inputs, Sadaf. So I think you've covered it from the microfinance perspective, etc. I'll just take a secondary view on this. So Ajay, if you are looking at the same question, how do you think the entire journey has evolved over the last decade within the BFSI sector?
Great, thanks. So, I think all of us should be privileged and delighted to be staying here in this industry for in this decade. I think we have seen immense power in the hands of the CEOs, CTOs today, right, in the technology field. And I'm sure you all will agree that it's been such a great time over the last 10, 20 years where we've seen a phenomenal growth of some of the most cutting edge technologies that have been launched. Both, I mean, we spoke about the government initiatives. I won't repeat all of that. But I think in the hands of the ITO, things like mobile, right? Mobile, cloud, e-commerce, we've grown with it over the last 3 years, 10 years, I would say, right? 10 to 20 years. And done and dusted most of the transformation that we had to do. And, my colleagues here from HDFC Life are here, and we did some phenomenal stuff there. Now, I think in the next 10 years, I would bet on 3 or 4 areas of technologies, right? We know AI, we talk about AI. I think day in and day out in every conference that we see, we talk about AI. I think AI will really take mainstream center stage in getting into core processes, like in insurance, for instance, we're talking about, converting the rudimentary static rules of underwriting to AI-based rules, right? I mean, a lot of customer service, analytics-based servicing and reaching out to customers, cross-selling some of the products that we want to sell. A lot of areas. AI, I think, will be center stage for the next 10 years in almost every industry and in every processes in the company. That's one. The other two industry technologies which I would myself bet on is one is clearly Web3 in terms of the distributed currency or transactions, and we all know of the digital rupee being piloted, and I think in the next 2 to 3 years you will see that adoption much more getting into banks and in the hands of the end consumers, right? We've seen token-based NFTs, right, or Legos, which are getting more and more popular. We've seen retail Legos, commercial Legos, which will actually redefine the entire cross-border transactions that we today do. And I think that's going to be one of the things that we should all look for and see as and when. And one of the things I like with Somnesh Joshi mentioned is the timing. The timing and the acceptance of the ecosystem, right? I mean, technologies are all there. I mean, frankly, things like AI have been in existence, I think, for almost 40 years, I would say. But they just happen to be noticed and adopted now in the last couple of years. So some of these technologies are all there. It's just that the right time of launch and adoption is what we should look for. And the right time of adoption can be different for different industries, by the way. I mean, insurance may be one, but retail and consumer, even in BFSI, if you see, Ashton, I think the various industries within BFSI also adopt technologies at a very different scale, right? Insurance, life insurance probably is one of the industries which are being laggards in adopting digital technologies, right? But even we have been now at the forefront of, adopting some of these digital tech. And thanks to pandemic, which forced us to get more digital, adopt more digital platforms and, balance very delicately between the personalization, individual physical interaction versus digital, right? So because insurance today still is a very personalized product and not much of rationalized transactions only, right? So that's a struggle which we have within life insurance to see how to balance both, because we still have a large set of customers who still want a face or a human to really talk to, and at every stage of the whole product life cycle, right? So having said that, like I said, Web3 transactions can be more cross-border transactions. And the last but not the least, the digital twins that we see, right? I mean, we will definitely get more and more bots, more intelligent bots into mainstream, more or less servicing our customers with ease from their homes and things like that. But we will definitely have to balance between a physical branch or an agent or a customer service executive giving the personalized touch to the customer grievances and queries, and how fast and effective digital platforms can be to make that emotion element or the personalized element brought with the help of technology. And I think that is something that I think will be doable with very personalized kind of agents and almost virtual bots you can bring into mainstream. So these three technologies, in my opinion, will really transform our industry to the next level after having done the mobility stuff effectively well. And we are really looking forward to adopt some of these technologies like Metaverse, for instance. SBI Life launched their first Metaverse environment. We want to bring in more servicing element there. Some of these virtual branch elements where, customers need not really physically go to the branch. Of course, we still want him to go to the branch if he choose to, but we would like to service with the same level of emotions and personalized touch using digital platform. And that's going to be the challenge for all technology folks, to make sure that we don't lose the personalized touch or an emotional element when we bring in technology into mainstream servicing customers. So that's what I think is the future.
Sure. Thanks for the inputs, Ajay. So you've actually very nicely touched upon a few next-gen technologies, as you've mentioned, through the AI, ML space, the web-based space, as well as the digital twins. Again, from a challenges perspective, as Sadaf had originally mentioned, digital literacy, financial literacies are definitely challenges and that we see. I'm sure, although we have not really explicitly called out, with digital transformation, we see a vast explosion of data, and along with it comes the data security, data confidentiality, infosec, and cybersecurity challenges too. So that's more or less, I guess, what we've tried to convey. But let's dive into the next question because of the point that Ajay just touched upon in the next gen technologies. So with the vast acceptance of next gen technologies, fintech solutions, fintech partners, and disruptive technologies, Shankar, I'll just ask you the question. In your view, do you see it as a challenge to the traditional players or something where both partners, both sets of players can coexist?
Thank you, Ashton. And Ajay and Sadaf has given a very good summarization of what's happened over the last decade. But let me tell you, when I started my studies some 30 years back, the technology changed much more rapidly, and I could say in a very, very large amounts every month than what is happening today. It's actually slowed down. People don't remember. You don't know that man was sent to the moon some 50, 70 years back in 1970s. They didn't go back again to the moon because the risks were high and the technology was not good enough even till today. We forget that that technology, when transistors were made in 1948, that technology changed. I used to see a supercomputer the size of a room or a hall. Today the supercomputers just come in one rack or 2-3 servers. Why I'm saying this is because we seem to only remember the last few months or few years or few seconds, for instance. All these people forget that people still lived. People lived happily. People had no tension. Now, because of technology, people's tensions have changed. For example, in businesses, you heard everyone since morning and you go to any seminars. Most of us obviously are there for businesses, but no one talks about the customer. What does he want? Does he really want something? We tend to feel he wants it and we want to give it. No, that is also not the case. This is what we want to give, they should take it. Everyone is talking about collecting data from you. Why they're not talking whether the customer wants the data collected by you? Many guys who would like to go and have liquor in the evening would not like their wife to know that yes, he paid by GPay or UPI some monies. I would like to take my girlfriend out and not let my family know. I would like to go and for a journey somewhere else, which I don't want other people to know because they'll say, "Arey, mujhe leke nahi gaya." This privacy is all gone. Digital is going to take away our privacy. So I don't know whether the freedom struggle we had, are we going to be enslaved by digitalization of the world, especially BFSI? That's the biggest question I have. Second part, the businesses have very clearly done a very smart thing, which is, I believe, is totally detrimental to customers. What they've done is they've transferred the risk to the customer. I'll give an example. Sunmeshji said very clearly, EPFO they have got Aadhaar card seeded for everyone. How does it matter whether the name is spelled wrong? You identify with his biometrics whether it's the same person and give him the money. Why do you require him to rectify all the things all the time? I still don't understand. If Aadhaar card is there, why do you require a copy every time I go to the bank? When I ask them, give me my bank statement or something, they will say, sir, we require you to take a photocopy of your Aadhaar card or PAN card. Why is it required? I still don't understand. This bigger problem of risk and transfer of risk is going to remain. BFSI sector has to understand that you can't have customers who don't understand digital, as Sayeed said. They are not digitally literate. And you got authenticated data, the money can actually go. That person can actually get wrong medicines. We are talking of one nation, one ration card. Why should banks or any place ask me for my address proof all the time? I'm a citizen of India. This is my Aadhaar card. I come to Bombay. I remember lots of people, students, youngsters who come to Bombay or any other city and they stay with some friends of them. 4-5 people share the room. They don't have an agreement. It's all done like this. And you go to a bank account, you go to an employment center and they'll say, give me your backup, and you require a police clearance, you require an address. Get away with the address. The poor don't require an address. It's only rich people like you and me or middle class people might have an address. Why are they not thinking of that? They are collecting data. Who has given them permission? Why should any BFSI sector guy know how many transactions I have done so that he can give me a loan? Let them think properly that the risk has to be transferred. In fact, I would say if the government wants every person to use a mobile and we can afford it and some people cannot, the government should give the mobile or some of the BFSI people should give the mobile to them. What happens if his mobiles fall in water? What happens if the battery is gone? No one is bothered. So everyone says, oh, it's so convenient that the mobile is there. If the mobile is lost, what will happen? And the poor people don't have. In fact, there is a tradition in India. There are many people, especially girls. We don't have ladies here so much. Ladies are not given the mobile. Housewives, homemakers, students, they are not given. We are giving 1/2 of the population in a bad manner. And this BFSI has to change. The risk, if you say 10,000 rupees is lost, why can't the bank, instead of paying 10,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees to an advocate to fight the case, just decide, okay, this is the amount we'll give. I have gone abroad and I can tell you what happens is they look at the customer. I go and buy a dress. I don't like it. I go and return. No question asked. No penalties charged. We say ISRO has done a good job. Today Chandrayaan will land on the moon maybe. Do you know why it is so cheap? Just think of the pays of NASA engineers and think of pays of ISRO engineers. Just think of the conditions they stay in. Just think of the conditions we stay in. See the worldwide CEOs, worldwide the BSE CEO, the Indian CEOs are there all somewhere, everywhere. See the pace, see the conditions that they live in and see what we do. I think BFSI sector has to get into it. Digital world means privacy lost. We have to get out of that. We should maintain customers' privacy. That's why I'm very glad the government has at least passed the bill. I'm sure it will do wonders. The Aadhaar data or any other data should not be transferred to anyone. In fact, one of the things I would like to say in the BFSI sector, SEBI has done an excellent job. What they have done is, your Demat account is with the depository. You can do transactions. Anyone wants any data, they have to go and ask them and they can get it. In BFSI sector, government has proposed the information aggregators, so that the data is not transferred to the BFSI industry as such. The information aggregator will only give on a particular consent of the customer. But as Sadaf said, how many people are digitally aware? If I have to load an app, I have to give permission. Whatever they ask, I can't say no. Is there an app you show me, any BFSI sector app, where I say, no, I don't want to give you location permission? Will you allow? All banks, they talk about apps. I don't know what is there in the app. The customer doesn't know what that app does. Just now in the morning, I showed them how the apps are taking data, which other apps are there in your phone, how many times you called a particular number. All those data is going to these apps, especially the banking app, because they say, we want security to our app. Every app says, I want security, so I am taking this data. And how much will happen? In fact, there's something called central KYC. We should identify a customer, say this is a customer for this banking sector, get that data, is this customer identified, finish. Don't ask Aadhaar card data, don't ask anything every time. That's my request. Thank you.
Sure, thanks, Shankar. I can see you have pretty strong views on some of the digital adoption. My personal take would be is digital transformation, digital adoption is there. It is just the incomplete and the improper adoption that creates the issues that we are facing today. So if it's adopted in the right way, I think most of these issues that you have called out will actually go away. But I'll pass on the question that I originally asked to Shankar to you, Bala. Again, with the evolvement and the wide acceptance of fintech and fintech solutions, especially among the Gen Zs and the millennials, do you see it as a competition or a conflict to the traditional banking players? Or do you think that we can both evolve and live together?
So, my view is that the market is big enough for everyone to coexist. First, the bigger point is, just take a simple thing. We are talking a lot about payments industry. Today, just HDFC Life, we offer more than a dozen different options to pay. Earlier, it used to be, I could imagine 10 years back, you had to go to a branch, give a check, or your agent will come to your house, collect a check, and all of that will happen. Today, you get SMS, you can do UPI, you could do any credit cards, you could do e-dash, you could do bunch of different ways. And a lot of these have been enabled through either Aadhaars, a lot of different fintechs or payment aggregators we use. So there is a space for everyone. And large corporations basically, I think, have to figure out their own space to coexist along with fintech. It's not a question of A versus B. It's a question of A and B. And innovations basically also helps us teach what we can do in our own spaces. Now, look at the latest buzzword that you hear today is Gen AI, right? Now, I cannot build everything today. Now, if you think of Gen AI as an extended version of, say, fintech or broad tech, the technology is being built by big techs. What I need to do, or big organizations like us need to do, is think about use cases that benefits the customer and benefits the organization at the same time. So can I use Gen AI to better customer service? When you do an inbound call, can the call center know enough about your history with your previous caller? Otherwise, it is extremely frustrating for a customer, and I know as a customer as well, to repeat my problem case all over again because that guy did not know it, right? Now, I can give you tons of other examples. The problem statement is changing. I don't have to build the core technology all the time. I can use Gen AI from the market, but figure out a use case for my industry, for my company, for my customer, myself, and adopt that technology for my usage. And on day one, this will be a differentiated service for me. A couple of years later, as these become streamlined, maybe I will outsource it because all of this will become like a third-party product easily available off the shelf. By the time for me to survive, I need to move to the next technology, next use case, next innovation. And that is how it will work. Now, while I have relatively smaller history in insurance, but I'm told when web aggregators on the insurance side started to come up, they had to pretty much go to insurance companies to say, hey, please let me sell your product. Today, it is more of a partnerships, right? The companies like us are surviving, the web aggregators are surviving, and it has expanded the market. It is not about taking the share from here to there. So broadly speaking, it will remain survival of the fittest. A lot of the current innovation is expanding the market in more than one way, whether it is just the core revenue or core services, but also in terms of pushing many of our products to the last mile, to the smallest village in far-reaching places. So that is what it is doing. And I think these innovations will continue to exist. Companies which adopt will survive better. That's my view.
Sure. Thanks for your view, Bala. So in your view, it is something that can coexist. So Bosco, I'll come to you now. You heard from the client as a solution provider, as a service provider, and a partner for clients within the BFSI space. Do you agree with the coexist, or do you differ on the same?
So Ashton, firstly, like you said, I'm a little nervous with all these elite gentlemen. So you need to excuse any nervousness in my voice, yeah? This is absolutely my opinion. And like Sir said, just now we see there's a place for everybody to coexist. But my take on this would be the latest startups, the new entrepreneurs that are there in the market, they're pretty agile with their thoughts, their processes, and their acceptability to digital evaluation and maturity. This brings a lot of business intelligence, analytics into that game. Now, if we can marry that part of the business of the fintechs with the traditional loyalty that their traditional financial institutes have, customer base that they have, and the reach that they have, I think it would really be a win-win for both. It seems a tad too far-fetched, but if possible, I think it would really be a good strategy to coexist peacefully and make money in the market. That's my 2 cents.
Well said, Bosco. So I'll move on to the next question. I'll stay with you, Bala, for the question. And this is with regards to various countries' economies promoting financial inclusion. I want to take your opinion on board in terms of the entire financial inclusion piece. How, in your opinion, can digital transformation help the unprivileged parts of society to get better financial access, maybe better financial literacy, and build an inclusive banking environment?
Right. So, broader topic of financial inclusion, I think we talked about Jadhav, we talked about how Aadhaar, etc., are helping KYC process, even broader eKYC, not just CKYC. A lot of these things are helping us to do the last mile. Now we often talk about our elite customer who is a salaried guy, potentially or an industrialist in the big city. But financial inclusion also need to happen not only in the far-fetched towns and villages, but also the most underprivileged parts of our society in bigger cities as well. Now, there are 2-3 different aspects of the problem. One, uh, the Aadhaar and UPI payments, etc., have made the process of KYC and digital identities and payments far easier, right? That is one piece. The advent of almost everyone, including say your auto drivers, even having a mobile phones, means they can use many of the digital technologies to buy certain type of products should they know. Now there are net from a technology perspective and business perspective, there are companies who are offering microfinance. Many of them are backed by large corporates or large banks in the back end, right? Now, all of that will continue to happen. I represent insurance industry. There are similar products in the insurance industry which offer far significantly smaller ticket size than we would imagine. I cannot imagine a life insurance of say 2 lakh sum assured. But there are people for them that represents a meaningful product. Now, traditionally, industry have not focused on all of that simply because from a ticket size perspective, it was not necessarily meaningful. But there are partnerships that we are developing, which basically allows many of these things to happen. Now you go to, say, an aggregator. You could buy insurance for, say, a sum assured of only a couple of lakhs by paying $20, $30 for a year or two because you are going out of your town or something like that. All of these things are happening in the marketplace, and they're happening more digitally because traditional channels of reaching out to those customers are way too expensive to make it meaningful. And it is the digitization that is no more in the elite segment of our society. It is the fact that lot of this digitization have reached to the lower ends that is making all of these things possible. And different startups, etc., are working with large manufacturers of products like us to give it to the last customer as well.
Sure. Thanks for the insights. Shankar, you want to come in on the same question?
I think there's lots of space for partnerships in the whole industry because the topmost guys or the bigger guys are not as agile as the lower guys. The younger people and the smaller companies have more ideas, better ideas, and we can utilize them. As he rightly said, we are looking at financial inclusion. But to even make money out of the new products, the government keeps on changing the laws and different things come up. I think these smaller companies really do well. So we have been supporting startups for quite a long. That will do well. And in future, technology will change such a manner that today you require to get an Aadhaar card. I believe the Prime Minister and his team already is thinking, can we put some chip inside a person before they are born? Not even after they are born. In which case you don't require anything to be done. There's a DNA fingerprinting. Why trouble? Then there's no digital literacy required. You already identified. But this will happen, and I think BFSI sector will take a lead because we are the most authenticated data generators and users. All other industry, like for instance, social media, You can write a message, you can do something, you can be someone else and show someone else. BFSI sector really does that. As I said, in the exchange sector, for instance, in the share market, today I see so many people from tier 3, tier 4 cities. In fact, they are worried about the payment systems not being up to date as much as the exchange systems being up to date. And one of the reasons is we are not supporting our telcos. There's a universal service fund or obligation fund, USO fund, which they should use. I go to lots of places where we do social service, like I'm also part of CSR. And I realize my phone doesn't work there. And I just imagine how do they pay their money? We talk about a chaiwala in Bombay because it's a rich place. But you talk about chaiwala in some Timbuktu here. Plus, how do you make sure that his identity is not taken by someone? There are lots of spoofing accounts happening. I think it's a big challenge in the risk sector. So today, the CISO, and they're talking about a CDO, it's a big space where we learn quite a lot and there'll be huge expansion. Another thing that I wanted to talk about BFSI, again, lots of BFSI sector people here will not like it, is we have not reduced the cost of transaction. You ask the students, they are paying fees. The college or the school will say you have to pay through this app only. Even if you're paying 100 rupees, you're paying 10 rupees charge. I think it's huge. So we have to look something at the markups that there. Thank you.
Sure, thanks, Shankar. Some noble thoughts. In terms of the chip implants, I think it will be an infringement of our human rights as a democracy. Sadaf, I'll come to you with the same question. Financial inclusion, given you're in the microfinance space, what are your thoughts on it?
No, as I said, digital is playing a significant role, and think the way things are happening and evolving, it's going to play even bigger role. So I think 10 years ago, when microfinance industry was about 20,000 crores, serving around a crore household, today we are around 65 million, 6.5 crore, and serving around like 5 lakh crores of asset under management. So I think all of this was possible, all this growth, because there was a digital infrastructure at the back end, and you were able to kind of access that client, reach that client, and also underwrite that client. I think the next level of innovation is already started. I'm sure many of you and many of the people in the audience would be aware that apart from microfinance, SIDBI is in the works of making a unique identification number for small businesses, so that number would be used to lend to those small entities. It's a kind of a micro SME loan. So it's called Udmi Mitra identification number. So that Udmi Mitra number, it is there for anybody who's a vegetable vendor or a street vendor. They will get next level of capital. So it does play a role. I think Shankar sir said about cost of transaction getting reduced. I think there is a little bit of a impact that has happened. So for example, UPI transaction today at a very low level, like 2,000 rupees or below, are free. Similar transaction, because we at the bottom of the pyramid are working, if somebody who's a laborer who was working in Mumbai and had to send some money to Bihar would have to use some Western Union or any other remittance facility, where he will end up paying 50, 60 rupees or maybe more transaction cost. But today it's free. So I think that has happened. I can take example of my industry itself, microfinance. I would not say only digital, but it's also a role of a regulator. At 2010 and before, the interest rates were in the range of 36% to 40%. Today, the lenders are lending at half of that. Around 20% is the rate that people are lending, 22%. So I think lot of this is possible because use of technology has helped us bring down the cost of operation. But Rome isn't built in a year, so it'll take time. Definitely more innovation, more economy of scale will come in, more benefits would be passed on, and I'm very convinced the government is doing a great job. Regulators and ecosystem player the organization Shankar sir represents play a very important role. I think data privacy is a very, very serious concern, and we also feel the same. Because we are dealing with the vulnerable segment of the society. So while protecting the data, how to use it effectively and provide that service at the last mile is the important question here. And I think a lot of innovation, lot of things are happening at the bottom of the pyramid and also in the overall ecosystem. We have to encourage that. Costs at certain levels are coming down. Certain levels, it is taking more of a time to come down. But definitely, I think digital in future will play a role. I think we need to not look too far. Look at our neighbors like China. Alipay has become like a system where like everything is getting done through that app. So something like that. I'm not saying that exactly the same, but definitely digital technology is here to stay. It'll play its role. It'll definitely help promote financial inclusion. I think I go as far as saying it also brings an equal platform, equal level playing field. So something like an ONDC, Open Network Digital Commerce, and lending platforms like this will eliminate the middleman and give options to the end user, so that they can do their businesses or borrow as per their need at a very low cost or a competitive cost. I think this is evolution. It is happening, but I'm sure it'll take a little bit more time, but it'll happen.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks
Actually,
for
just
that,
I want to
Sadaf.
make two comments. One is he talked about P2P payments, which are almost free. UPI is free. But I was talking about companies which hold you ransom. You have to pay only through bill pay. For instance, I pay my electric bill. The pay charges are very high. Today, my driver goes and I give him the money and he does.
Yes,
Second, I was talking about cost coming down. In the exchange, today you become an investor in the share market, you have almost zero transaction charges. I don't know when the BFS sector will, at the other end, will do that. That's all.
Yeah, we'll keep it as it all boils down to ethics and culture. Given the paucity of time, Ajay, I'll come to you with the last question. Digital transformation, when we talk about it, we talk about change. And with change comes resistance. As a leader, how can you best effectively manage this change and the resistance that comes with it, and basically foster a culture of innovation?
Yeah, so you brought in this point of change, right, Ashton? I think we must embrace change. And I think we talk about technology and a lot of power with us and all of that. But I think we've not done enough in terms of disrupting ourselves. And I think most importantly, and I think that's something that I want to make a mention about, we have so much of information, data, technology at our disposal. But we still aren't able to service the needs of our end customer. And I think as a country, we all know how complex a country we are, right? I mean, it's so diverse. It's so large, and mind you, an ever-growing population of economically upgrading themselves, and getting more disposal income that they have. It's huge. I mean, whatever we do, it's a galore of opportunities that we have. So that's one part. I think that's huge. Second, I think we have to relook at our approach of how we go to the customer. I think most of us are, I'm sure you'll agree, we are in a rat race, right? Every business wants to make their business grow, want to show ROI, want to show profitability. And we lose the essence of the purpose of why we are existing in the first place. I'll give you examples of life insurance, right? I mean, we've got some 27 life insurers, private insurers, and LIC being still the behemoth of 57% market share, right? With a large customer base. But can you beat it? We are just about less than about 3% of penetration in the whole country. I mean, that's so dismal, I would say. And it's so unproductive, I would say, after all these years. And I think almost all insurers have been in existence since year 2000, and now it's about 23 years of existence, and we still aren't able to get to 3%, where other countries have reached in the scale of 14, 13, 17% penetration. I think there's so much of demand and opportunity. That's one. I think if we all tune ourselves to see what the customer really needs, and you talked about microfinance and we talk about micro insurance. I mean, the customer at the end in the tier 3, tier 4 city is so much in need of BFSI products, right? And today, if you put all of that together, awareness, simple products. Our products in insurance are so complex, and I'm sure all the other products in BFSI are so complex. It's so difficult for a common man to understand, accept, and start transacting. Like the beauty of platforms like UPI, I mean, Subnish just came in. It's so simple. It's clear that what I get from that platform and I start using it, right? And there is no complexity there. I think if we build some of these changed products which will help get better acceptance of these products and the industry in the end user's hands, I think we've taken care of the resistance and the issue of change. People will embrace change. People will accept disruption as long as I am clear what I get from it, right? And be it employees, be it markets, I'm pretty sure we have enough and more power in our hands and knowledge and experience to tune to the market and the industry. And as long as we keep that in our view and bring in these innovation and changes, it will get accepted. I don't think there is any challenge in accepting. One, I know the times are up, but there's one other point I wanted to make. We all say technology will bring in, take away jobs, right? I think that's the most common constraint and resistance that people have. I don't think it has taken away job. It has just reskilled and upgraded the type of jobs that we see today, right? And I think in our Indian context, people adapt very, very fast, very well. I think that's a great forte of all Indians, whatever it is. And we have adapted to many changes over the last 100 years, right? So why make a UN cry about this event, right? But as long as we make it clear what's in it for every individual, be it employee, be it consumers, or be it partners or ecosystems or fintechs, there is enough and more galore opportunities for us to really get our hands on.
Sure, thanks Ajay. Bosco, I'll end with you. With regards to digital transformation, change, resistance to change, and empowerment, what is your final take of it as a partner in this entire ecosystem?
I'll be as concise as I can, but I can't stop myself from saying, Shankar sir, I nearly choked on my Mentos with your insertion of the chip. Nice. So, see, this for us, Ashton, is a bigger problem because other than facing stiff competition outside, the last thing you want is resistance from inside. So it gets very difficult. And with this transformation and digitization, everything, most of the monotonous tasks have got automated. And like Ajay rightly said, one gets a feeling of insecurity that will take up my job. But what we've been trying to do as a partner is, try and meet various stakeholders in an organization, make them inclusive in all the discussions, right from, the benefits of it, designing, if you have to deploy a solution, certify somebody, share knowledge. So rather than anybody feel insecure that my job's going to be taken up, you'd rather think I'll hit my KRA and have a growth path to move forward in life, So that's what we've been trying. But that being said, it's very difficult for us to achieve that. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Bosco. And thanks once again to all panel members for your views and your opinions. I just hope we've been able to do justice to the topic and the audience have been able to pick up some important tidbits on the same. Thanks once again.